Welcome to SFL, Innovative Logistics Experts.
The logistics industry is known to so many challenges such as the port congestion, labor shortages, increased freight rates. We have seen this industry increase automation in the last 24 months, and we know that the COVID has been a direct result of that. It has accelerated that part in the industry. So incorporating digital tools in business is expensive, and sometimes implementations range from a day to sometimes 4 months, depending on the project timeline and the project itself. I'm Wendy. I am a communication strategist at Software at Logic, and today I have the wonderful Kovini Moodley, CEO of Boss Babes of South Africa, and also a chartered accountant. Kovini, thank you so much for joining me and taking this time to explain to us and the fellow viewers the business and audit risks in logistics, and how digitization and automation can reduce that risk. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your transition of becoming a chartered accountant and now CEO of Boss Babes of South Africa.
Thank you so much, Wendy, for this opportunity. I love lending my voice, and where I can offer my skill, I'm also more than happy to do so. So I am a qualified chartered accountant by profession. I have a 9-to-5 job, and Boss Babes of South Africa, like you mentioned, is really my passion project. I almost feel like I was called towards doing that in terms of wanting to empower women, wanting to give back something, to the world. And that's really how it stemmed from me wanting to really empower women. And Boss Babes of South Africa is actually a skills sharing platform. And skills sharing is really about empowerment, but almost a different angle about it, because I think that people are, always looking to learn new skills and looking to leverage off each other in the community. And that's really why I created this platform. It is a sisterhood. It is a safe space for women to, collaborate and communicate with each other. And yeah, it's just, it's really grown over the last 2 years as well.
That's absolutely amazing, Kovini. One of the supply chain challenges we have there is labor shortages. And, to have the skill platform that can be shared amongst women is amazing. Is because the logistics industry lacks women in the industry, and a majority of this is based on their responsibilities as mothers and their responsibilities as wives, as women in society. So having that platform where women can share their skills is absolutely amazing. That's why I need you right now, is because one of the skills I would require from you is, to share what are the business and audit risks in the logistics company currently. I mean, being a chartered accountant, having to audit companies, what are some of the major audit risks that you found in the logistics companies?
I think at this point, the really big risk that is affecting a lot of people is really, the impacts of COVID-19. And I think a lot of people are not in a good headspace, if I could say that. And I think that is something that is sort of impacting a lot of companies. So we've been locked up literally for 2 years. We haven't had human contact. And I think nowadays we're sort of talking about what they're calling the Great Resignation, which is where, people are so used to being at home and they don't really want to venture back into office spaces because, we're kind of in a comfort zone. You do things for 2 years, and that's kind of where you start to feel comfortable. It starts to feel more like a home within a home. And I think there's going to really be a lot of change management that needs to happen across industries to sort of get people back into that physical working environment, if that makes sense. And I think just also from a general perspective in terms of, risks, I think one of the biggest risks is, not having the right talent in a particular team. And I think that, passion is a really big thing as well that we need to be focusing on, especially with our recruitment activities and that sort of thing, to make sure that we're hiring people that are, truly passionate about a particular space, in your space, the logistics space. And I think that really makes and contributes to a very positive work environment when we, bring the right skills and what they describe as role fit. So I think that is really one of the biggest things across organizations when it comes to this. And I'll also lean on my experience that I had from a management consulting perspective, which, really looked at putting the right person in the right role could make a huge difference. And it could also mean that, starting of small businesses is something that's really important, starting of side hustles, starting of ways that we can, even beyond the corporate space, start to say, what can I create that can create employment opportunities? Because I think that's something that I'm really passionate about as well. The other thing I think that is really important from a risk perspective is, when you've got great talent, to be able to make sure that they see, an amazing growth path for them, to be able to put in place plans and processes to make sure that they are, they can see how they could grow. They could see where they could be in 5 years' time. And I think that's really, really important, that when you've got this good talent, that you're able, to keep it right there. And I think also diversifying is really important. I've been seeing in terms of the kind of leading companies seem to be buying other companies as well, and seem to be expanding their portfolios. And I think that's actually a brilliant way to go in terms of diversifying your portfolio and therefore reducing risk to some extent.
People that are leaving the space is because they are forced to do mundane tasks that doesn't require them to, how can I say, showcase their skill or showcase their talent. At SFL, this is what we are passionate about, as you said, and same exactly like you, bringing employment to people, but also creating that good mental health in that workspace for them. And bringing in those digital tools will actually help reduce that mundane task from people, actually help them to say, hey, there's a 5-year future for me, because now I actually can be an operational manager. I'm not just sitting and being a capturer for the next 3 years, because now I have. Yeah, so that's where the space is, and as you said, the economic space we in right now is not at a good financial space. What is your views? And when you think of automation and digitization in the supply chain, I did an article recently, and the stats were amazing on how it can increase our economic GDP growth just by automating simple processes. And what is your financial overview on that?
I think definitely digitization is the way to go. I think the really important thing is to make sure that you've got the right service provider and that you're able to tailor digital solutions so that it actually adds value to a company. Because with my consulting experience, I did note that, sometimes we sort of rush into solutions and it doesn't give you what you think it's going to give you. And then there's this huge gap between what you thought it would and, what it is giving you. And that gap is really where it starts to expose businesses to risk. So I think when moving to a digital solution, my suggestion would always be to look for the best practice. What are the other companies that are similar to you doing? Which service providers are they using? And more importantly, when we talk about digital, we also look at the sort of customer service that comes after that. It's not just about giving you a wonderful tool and then backing away. It's really about the kind of support, which is really, really important in terms of, hand-holding, change management, helping people to upskill in terms of that. And I think speccing these new systems is probably one of the most important things that you can spend your time on, to make sure that it's actually going to drive value. It's going to reduce risk. It's going to address your current problems. And I think a lot of people don't do a proper risk assessment before they move across and go and buy these, $1 million systems. And I think that's really where it starts, to get in an expert to make sure that you identify all the risks, and thereafter make sure that your system that you're bringing links up and can address and mitigate those risks properly.
One of the things that comes to mind is compliance, in terms of customs compliance or tax compliance. In terms of your experience in the industry, when you have a company that uses a digital system that automates the submissions, how is that a business risk? Is that an increase or a decrease to as a business risk and an audit risk for you as an auditor?
I think it can limit the risk, but the disclaimer there is that it needs to obviously be well coded, right? So a system is only as good as what we put in there. So if you are not going to spend the time, again, the homework, like you mentioned, to sit down and identify all the scenarios that need to happen with regards to specific tax law or whichever legislation you're doing, then again, you're going to be sitting with risk. And, if you get it wrong, you're going to be sitting with penalties from SARS and, the fines and all of that. So I think it's very important that, before implementation and moving to digital systems, that we bring in experts. We define a landscape. We define all the possible scenarios that could exist. And I think that's the hard work. The implementation is less of the hard work from my perspective and from my experience. It's about sitting down, collaborating with colleagues, and coming up with, we're going to put these, compliance rules into a system. Bring on the experts, bring on the business stakeholders, get everyone on board and almost run it like a full project, as you would with a full project management. So that at the end of it, you've got the relevant sign-offs from your SMEs, even if you've got to consult externally. And I know there's a lot of companies that do external consulting when it comes to compliance. And I think it's always best to have a professional or someone that's, very well skilled when we're talking about compliance, because that is something that, is make or break for any organization.
That's absolutely true. And I think, when you have the systems that can integrate directly with the tax authorities, that just makes it much more easier. So then your calculations are correct. And in terms of, deferment calculations, you tend to have that control of cash flow in the business when it's integrated with the tax authority. Because as you said, if you don't have all the scenarios in place, it's easy to have that. Is there anything else like, that you would like to add from a business perspective that you could give our logistics and freight forwarder companies out there some advice? We've seen recently in KZN floods that have happened, and we've seen how the economic, the climate change has just, there's no control as to say how we can control certain challenges in our industry. Is there any advice or anything financially that you can give our clients that can help them in their business in the future, that can maybe help them to recuperate this or or push forward to become better? Yeah.
I think for any organization, and I'm sure your company has this as well, a contingency plan is something that is absolutely critical. And yes, we can't predict natural disasters. I mean, what has happened in Durban has been truly heartbreaking. For example, a place that people can go to and work can still carry on. Those are some of the contingency plans that we can institute. But I think what's really, really becoming topical now across industries is the need for proper risk management. And I think for me, audit and risk is something that I almost call them sisters, like almost they're sisters. They're, risk looks at, what could happen. And when it comes to audit, we're also looking at risk, but from a different angle almost. So I very much look at audit assessments and risk assessments to be key elements and foundations for any business. So if it's one thing that you want to spend time and money on, I'd really focus on putting in more risk assessments, deeper dives into your processes. In my consulting work, I did tons of deep dives for many leading global companies. The processes or the controls may be not working as effectively as you would have liked them, and you would know that. So I would suggest in that case where you see a recurrence of the same sort of issue happening, it often points for me to almost a symptom. So very much like when you get a symptom or you get a headache, you've got to dig a little deeper, and sometimes you go to a GP, it doesn't work out, they don't give you the right diagnosis. You still struggle with it, and you need to kind of go to a specialist and take further action. So I think that's really, really important when we bring that back and that concept back to our businesses as well. Post the analysis, I think the real work starts in terms of implementation, having project managers to drive that out. And I think that is probably the best way that we can start to manage risk more proactively in our businesses.
Thank you so much, Kovini. That is such a good way of you just, summarizing everything and really just saying that leadership is a good leadership will actually help you to have create that better boundaries or that better processes in your business. Being a leader yourself, and as you said, being CEO of Boss Babes, and that being your passion, what is the future for Boss Babes of South Africa, or where is your goals for them, and how can people, join Boss Babes of South Africa?
So yeah, you could definitely be a part of the skill sharing community. You could register on our website. It is www.bossbabesofsouthafrica.co.za. And yeah, be a part of the community. Tell us what skills you can share with us. We're really open to any type of skill. Public speaking. There's a lot of mental health, activists that are coming on board, and just motivating our audience. So whatever skill that you have and you want to share with the community, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Kovini, for joining me. It was such a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you for watching. To stay ahead of the game and for more content like this, don't forget to hit that bell icon and click to subscribe to our channel. SFL Software Logic is dedicated to supporting and elevating logistics businesses through technology. Powered by CargoWise One, our ecosystem comprises of consultancy, implementations, and support. Our mission at SFL, we believe in constantly challenging how things are done to create opportunities for us and our partners, and ultimately collaborate with us to stay ahead of the game. SFL Innovative Logistics Experts.